dollar lips. Mwah. That's what they need to know. You know what I'm saying? Important, very important. Um, as far as cost of machinery is we are looking at an area right now which is in the Mangochi area, and that depends on what type of deal we have with the people who we're going to buy the machines from, because we're going to raise this money, we're going to buy the machines, you see. But we only buy the machines if these people buy into CCSR, you know. So it's a give and take, you know. If we're going to buy your pipes, buy your pumps, and whatever irrigation equipment you may have, or your solar energy, or your solar power, or anything, you need to be involved with what we do. You need to. It's a give and take. Somehow, some way, we need to get something out of it, because we're prepared to pay your price and your normal price. I mean, we're not going to go to companies and say they owe us get discounts or whatever. That's not what we're looking for. We're not looking to save money in that sense. So we don't want discounts. We're ready to pay the right price for your product. You see? But what we expect is for you to pay the right price for our product, which is our future, our life, our planet. You know, so there's no cutting around the corners here. Now, so obviously I cannot give you how much it's going to cost, because I mean that is still to be negotiated with those companies. We are changing structures. You know, it's not business as usual. Wherever we go, we are challenging the structures that exist, and we are willing to be challenged as well, you know. So if we consent, or you know, if we consent to a price, then just as much as we consent to the price, the going price, we have the resolve to say we're going to push this resolution through, because that's what would be worth us paying the normal price for this thing. So structural adjustment, structural adjustment, structural adjustment. That's the key word here you have to understand, you know, and that's what we're financing here. That's what we need to finance. That's what I need the entire world to get behind me and support me, because everybody knows that money disappears in Africa, and money could do a whole lot more in Africa. And the only way we can ensure that it doesn't do that is by changing the structures that exist, or adjusting them. Um, what are the specific costs labor machine involved in your plan? Who is to be involved? Everybody is to be involved. There's nobody who's not going to be involved. This is comprehensive. This is the planet. This is us. Whoever drinks water, whoever cares about water will be involved one way or the other. You know, if you're not involved, we'll find a way to get you involved. But everybody will be involved. That's why we say comprehensive. You know. Do you think you will have to rely on one, normal citizens, two, finances to raise these funds? Will they come from public or private reserves? The money will come from everywhere. The money will come from everybody who hears the sense that I've got to say. So whatever position they're in, they're going to have to make the right type of adjustments to make sure that the money's come to me, so we can use the money for what they're supposed to be used for. You understand? And definitely a very serious structural adjustment in this approach is the requirement of a lot of money, in fact the main amount of money, to come from normal citizens, and especially poor citizens, because we need to enable the citizens to see how much spending power they have if they spend that money in a unified manner. You know, that's the main thing. The financial unity of the poor is important, and we need to put that into practice. It needs to be the culture that they have, to be financially unified as poor people. So the campaign is unsuccessful if 9 million comes from one source. We haven't changed anything. If a billionaire comes with 9 million and says, here it is, you know, I will have the leverage, but I wouldn't have achieved what the leverage is for. You see? So it is very important that the structure involves the ability of the poorest of the poor to raise money together. And that's why you find that I spend more time working with the structures than with actually making the type of of what do they call it? The type of proposal to get funds, you know. There's much answering, but finalement see it på English. Sorry, I'm saying in Danish. What is even answering? Isn't it a proposal? Anyway, I'm not sitting around looking at who is offering money and then trying to adjust my plan according to them. because they would not know what kind of structural adjustment plan I have. You know, I spend more time in testing out my structural adjustment plans and see if they're viable and if they resonate with the people. And if they do on that level, then they can resonate everywhere. So, you know, when you say if the money is going to come from financiers, sorry, do you think you will have to rely on normal citizens to financiers to raise these funds? Will they come from public or private reserves? I think I've answered that properly. I just think I wanted to make another point, but I got lost, but I'll get round to it, because when you deal with a thing that is real, you end up speaking the truth all the time. It doesn't matter which angle you start from. And then here, question number F. Why do you use the term dollar as a measure of your financial need? What are the likely territories that would receive payments? Those are two questions, basically. Dude, you did not ask me why I use the term dollar. Why do you use the term dollar? I don't know if I even want to answer that type of question. It's a question which I don't understand why it's asked. Um, why do we use the dollar? We are part of this world. I mean, we're not aliens. you know. Um, what are the likely territories that would receive payments? All of them. Everybody must get paid. You know. But to answer it specifically, the likely areas I'll get payment are people who are already involved on the ground. Because if we're going to come in and have some structural adjustments, the people who we will rely on to bring them about are people who are already working within the old structure, because they're the ones who would know where the shortcomings are, where there's a shortfall, and they feel it. Who's on the ground really feels it, especially the Malawian counterparts of these organizations that may be in Africa. So if we must have continuity and guarantee some consistency, then it is there where we must really make sure that we can provide jobs, salaries in the new structure. You understand? So you could safely say that a lot of the money will go towards either retraining or basically just paying the people to occupy positions that are conducive to the new structure that we have in mind, because it's a change, it's a paradigm shift. So to finance that shift, that transition, and to have the people in place for that, the people who we will specifically choose are people who we know have got the experience of working with development, and they're the right people because they have worked with many different people. You could say that at the moment they're going through some type of training, because if they don't work with Oxfam, they work with World Vision, they might work with Save the Children, so they gather experience from place to place and expertise. So I mean, this is a special breed of people who, I guess most times you would look at them as volunteers or that type of person. You might call them that, volunteers. Well, not volunteers because they do get some money. Um, but that force in Malawi is a quiet and a strong force. They're not really the decision makers. They're not the policy makers. They carry out what policy has been made. They suffer the policy. So they're the best persons to really get through to say, well, how should the policy change in that sense? And they can give you the best feedback as to whether the policy we're coming with is a better policy than the one before. So you can imagine that's where the money will go. Yeah, so question number G. Specifically, what is your plan? Steve, if you're planning to fund me, I will tell you specifically what my plan is. If you're planning to fight with me and die with me, I will tell you specifically what my plan is. Otherwise, you have to pay for it, because specifically it's my input. It is my hard work. That is my sacrifice. That is like 6 years living off the grid, so to speak, in terms of financial security and that type of thing, the normal parameters that we are brought up with in the West, um, in order to gain some kind of insight as to why things are working and why they're not working. That's not something we just give away. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can get an idea of what things are by what I say on Facebook, you know, and there on my page I just post whatever, randomly, anything. Most of those things just stems for articles and ideas that I'm going to develop later, or when I come back to look where my mind was at years later from now, you know, that's what that's for. But the specific stuff, no, my bro, I keep that to myself, you know. Yeah, people just see it reveal as it goes on, you know. They have to trust that, you know. So why do you claim that God has implored you to raise the 9 million, and what is the purpose of your future work after having secured the funding? You sure have a way of picking some words which might put somebody on the defensive, don't you, Steve? I mean, why do you claim? I would not say claim, I'd say I state it. You know, it's not a claim, it's a statement. That God has implored you. God does not implore me to raise money. God, if God, imploring is begging. Implore? No. I think that's a misquote of what really has happened that needs to be corrected, yeah, ASAP. Um, but if God has implored me to do anything, He has begged me and He has begged everybody to believe that His death on the cross is our salvation, you know, and that was a very serious imploration, if there is such a word, you know, going to that type of begging for us to recognize the love. It's is if anything, that's what is really going on over here, and that means that we should be made into kings and priests of his kingdom, and part of our work is to make sure that we see certain structural adjustments through, that we know that equity comes through to people, you know, that whatever structures are there, whether it's financial or, you know, or economic or philosophical or whatever, that equity, what we are worth as human beings, what we're worth to God, is what shines through in the policies that are made for each and every one, you know, like the Declaration of Human Rights, you know. So um, to be able to carry that out is a gift because of what Christ has sacrificed on the cross for us to live. So if you were a real Christian, that you wouldn't have that type of question asked towards another Christian brother. You know, you should know that, you know, and I hope that it's because you want this type of answer that you ask that question, because if that's not the case, then it's a bit strange to I, you know. Um, what is the purpose of your future work after having secured the funds? Like I said, you know, I mean, the purpose of those funds, the 9 million, 9 million is nothing, you know. Everybody's watching the 9 million, it's a big thing, you know. I mean, the big thing here is God and God's life, God giving you life, you know. So orange juice in the morning is important to me, maybe more important than the 9 million, you know, to drink orange juice or drink a whole glass of water in the morning. This 9 million part is a very, very small part of what we're dealing with, because when we're talking about finances and that, you know, we even got a $10 billion plan, you know. So 9 million is a small step towards empowering people to implement their own $10 billion plan. So everybody, because they've got this, they cannot see that God is bigger than $9 million. I see that every day. I know God is bigger than $9 million. So when I talk about $9 million, I talk about it like it's a game, because I know it's achievable. It's nothing big, you know. It's, you know, I don't understand, and that's why the first questions, when you said that you were worried, and whether, you know, I'm running out of time or whatever, and blah blah this and this, I was like, what's up with this brother?